Hey guys, made a video the other day that talked about basically people taking personal responsibility for their own safety and well-being, and not just for themselves, but also for their kids as well. We spend a lot of time focusing on our kids, trying to teach them to eat healthy, to exercise, to go to school and get an education. We teach them how to manage their money. We teach them all these things. These are all lessons that as a parent we pass on to our kids. But then somehow when it comes to the lesson of how to defend themselves, this is all of a sudden considered somebody else's job. It's the government's job to defend you. And that was basically the gist of what I was saying, is that as parents, a full scope responsibility means that we don't just take care of the health and wealth of our kids, but we also teach them how to defend themselves and how to take personal responsibility for their own well-being. Since then, and this was all kind of in context to the school shooting that had happened in Florida and so on and so forth, and since then a lot of the comments that I started receiving was pretty interesting. The vast majority of people understood, and they could grasp the concept that I was making there, but several people started responding back with, "Oh, you poor fool, you believe the media lie. You know, it wasn't really this or that or whatever. It was some deep state conspiracy." Look, here's the thing. This is a perfect example of missing the forest to see the trees. People focusing on the minutia and not looking at the overarching problem. What difference does it make? I don't really care. I don't care about your conspiracies or anything like that. The fact of the matter is I've got a video on YouTube that's got a couple of guns dancing around and like having sex with each other. Got a lot of views. The fact of the matter is there is a financial and a personal incentive for people to go on to YouTube and make up videos about anything. So you have to forgive me that I don't necessarily buy into it, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it's a big conspiracy, that this guy was brainwashed by MK Ultra. He comes in, he shoots up the place, he's working for the deep state, it's all a liberal conspiracy, to George Soros paid his family or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. What difference does it make? The only thing that's going to change anything is the solutions that are proposed. So what we want to do is we want to propose solutions that will cover a wide range of circumstances. So the circumstances are either one, this guy was MK Ultra influenced, CIA, deep state, ninja, whatever, and he was paid to go in there and shoot the place up. Two, he was actually just a psychologically deranged young man who grabbed a gun and went in and shot the place up. Three, it wasn't even him. It was some Ranger 6 Recon Delta Force, guy who went in and shot the place up. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is there are dead kids. There is a real school, and somebody went in there and shot the place up. What difference does it make where this guy came from? The solutions that we propose need to be able to handle all of those situations. So let's look at the solutions that are on the table. Number one, remove all the guns from everybody. All right. I think we can look at other countries where they've removed guns and they still have gun problems. One of my best friends is from Brazil. And one of the things that he and I have discussed recently is the fact that in Brazil, where it's actually very, very difficult and even illegal for you to own a firearm, there is no problem whatsoever with the criminal band in that particular country getting a hold of military-grade weapons. I mean, to the extent that they can sit there and watch in certain areas of Brazil, watching tracer fire going back and forth, something out of that movie Sicario. I mean, that type of thing. But you as a private citizen owning a firearm in Brazil, not going to happen, which means that all the criminals have guns, but you don't. Okay? So, that solution. We can look at other countries, we can even look at other states within the United States and see where tougher gun laws have not benefited. So what's another solution to prevent these school shootings? Well, we can create a sub-classification of people that says this group of people, the people who are on these psychotropic drugs, they can't have guns. People who are psychologically disturbed, and that's exactly what will happen with the laws, is somebody will pass a common sense legislation that says this subclassification of people is not allowed to own firearms. And then gradually what will happen is, if in fact this is a deep state thing and so on and so forth, that classification of people will eventually be expanded and broadened. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody who commits a felony is not allowed to own a firearm. Here's the problem. The things that you can actually be prosecuted with felony charges for have been broadened since that law was passed. You can actually be prosecuted with felony charges for trespassing on public land. You can be prosecuted for felonious charges by protesting within a certain distance of the president. So all of these things being considered, you can see that what happens is once you create a subgroup of people that says these people can't have guns, eventually what happens is that group ends up being expanded. So let's just say you create a subclassification of people that says these people can't have guns because they're psychologically disturbed. All right? And then the first time you go and protest against gay child porn or something like that, you get called a homophobe, and they tell you that that you're intolerant and that basically you're psychologically disturbed. Now you can't own a gun. And that's exactly how this thing is going to go. So the psychological aspect is not going to work. Taking guns away from everybody is not going to work. Removing guns from a small classification of people is not going to work. So the only thing that you can do is that you can give everybody guns. And this was something that was basically done, you know, when I was in school, we had shotguns in the backs of our trucks and things like that. Nobody got shot. You know, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for me to go over to my friend's house and everybody had guns. It just, that wasn't the problem when I was a kid, and nobody got shot because everybody had guns. So let's just say one other solution that we propose. And again, remember that we're looking at 3 different scenarios. The MK Ultra kid who's working for the deep state, a genuinely psychologically deranged kid, or some government actor, you know, ninja guy coming in shooting the place up. So we see that removing the guns isn't going to work. We see that removing a portion of the guns isn't going to work. So the only other option that we have is to arm the populace. So let's just say that we do what one of these, you know, sheriffs is proposing doing, and remove the gun-free zones and basically provide training to school teachers. You start arming all the school teachers, and pretty soon, is that going to stop the shooting? Well, let's look at the 3 classes. The MK Ultra kid comes into the school and all the teachers are armed. What's the likelihood of that death toll rising above, like, let's say 1 or 2? Probably not very good, because all the teachers have been trained. Let's just say that a genuinely psychologically deranged kid comes into the school and all the teachers are armed. How does that situation play out? Well, the exact same way, because it makes no difference whatsoever. Let's just say the Ranger 6 recon guy comes in and infiltrates the school. Once again, how does that situation play out? Well, all the teachers are armed, and I don't care how ninja force badass you are, when you're surrounded by a populace of armed individuals, you're probably going to lose that fight. So, all things considered, all of you guys who are wanting debate about whether it's a conspiracy, whether it's a false flag, whether it's this or that or whatever, it makes no difference. The fact of the matter is the video that I propose still stands. Take personal responsibility for your own safety and well-being. Pass that kind of thought process on to your children, and then it's not going to make any difference whether it's some MK Ultra kid or whether it's a genuinely disturbed individual. The fact of the matter is if he's presented with an armed threat, he's going to run first, then he's going to hide, and then if that's not going to work, then he can fight. It's simple, all right? It's really not as complex as you're making it. So anyway, you guys think about that. Train hard.